I think artificial intelligence will be applied in multiple areas of banking, certainly around the whole nature of the client interface is likely to change. We're seeing examples where a client service can actually be improved as a result of what the technology is able to offer by having more insightful replies to questions, better access to the services and the actions that need to be taken place in response to a client inquiry or a client interaction of some sort, in a way which is in line with client expectations as opposed to having an artificial barrier or something of that nature. And I think we're seeing all around us examples where human technology interface is moving at a great pace and is really improving all the time. I think the other areas around the back office, I mean, usually a lot of the cost is associated with back office operations. It's very human intensive, but at the end of the day, robot technology, RPA, robotics process automation, can make a significant difference there. And we're seeing in our experience opportunities to reduce costs by 20-25% as a result of that, sometimes much more than that, based on the levels of automation that can be delivered through AI and what we call cognitive operations. I think one of the greatest challenges that the banking industry faces in the next 5 years is just being able to cope with new business models. So at one level, we've all been talking about open banking, the way that PSD2, API economy, etc., is evolving. What will be the nature of a bank? It won't necessarily be the retail banking branch anymore. It's probably going to be a collection of interfaces, APIs, interactions that take place in a network, an ecosystem of different kind of capabilities and services, which won't necessarily represent a physical entity of a bank, but rather a more diffuse set of capabilities that interface with us in many different ways. So understanding what that future state is going to look like and understanding exactly how banks can migrate to that environment, I think is going to be a very fascinating journey over the next 5 years. We've already talked about how AI can really make a significant difference as far as customer experience is concerned. And I think it's just being able to bring closer levels of insight as around a particular client situation, actually have more access to information on a more insightful basis than would naturally be the case. I'm sure we've all had frustrations when you're calling up the call centers, you're waiting a long time, you don't get the answer you're expecting, you have to call somewhere else. There are all sorts of handoffs that can be really inefficient in terms of that overall process, but obviously the technology can do a lot better than that in terms of a much more integrated, insightful, client-centric approach to how the whole client interface takes place, be it in a retail context, SME commercial banking context, or indeed on a corporate context. MoneyLive, I think, is a great event, mainly because of the interaction that's possible around the events, as you can see here, and the cross-section that we have of banks, of technology vendors, of fintechs, of startups. It's a very interesting amalgam of different sorts of entities, and the sessions themselves and the interactions outside of the sessions, I think, have great value.